Thanks for joining us on the news on NTA International. I'm Ruth Aguene. My sign language interpreter is John Bamidele. Remember, you can watch this news 247 on Vision TV and other social media platforms displayed on the screen right now. Let's begin with the headlines. President Bola Tinubu signs National Students' Loan Amendment Bill into law. 7.4 magnitude earthquake hits Taiwan. Plus, Senegal's president names mentor Ousmane Sonko as prime minister. President Bola Tinubu says his administration is determined to ensure that the education sector is given proper attention to develop and drive a more rapid growth of the country. The president said this as he signed the National Students' Loan Scheme Amendment Bill in the presence of the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio. Well, call it a promise made and a promise kept. Let's get details from State House correspondent Musbahu Danwahab, who traces back this campaign promise.
Give Nigerian youth the greatest of the greatest of the greatest of the greatest.
Although seeking Bola Ahmed Tinubu once had a pact with Nigerian students.
4 years program is 4 years. There will be student loan. If you cannot finance yourself, we give you a loan. You complete the education. When you get the work, only when you start working and with the capacity to pay, then you start to pay.
Apparently, the students fulfilled their own side of the bargain by supporting him to presidency. And barely 2 weeks into his administration, President Tinubu signed the Student Loan Bill into law as a Democracy Day gift to the students. But then, the provision of the Act required an amendment for better effectiveness. Now, issues of management, eligibility, methods of application, repayments and recovery of loans, among others, have been addressed in an amended legislation as endorsed by the National Assembly. Now, the government is set for the implementation with the establishment of the Nigeria Education Loan Fund, NED.
We are determined to ensure education is given the proper attention necessary for the country, including skill development programs. Education is the tool to fight against poverty effectively.
Promise kept. President Tinubu says his administration's vision is to ensure inclusiveness in education.
In the past, you've seen a lot of our children drop out of colleges and given up the opportunity. That is no more. The standard and the control is there for you to apply, no matter who you are, as long as you are a Nigerian citizen. This is to ensure that no one, no matter how poor their background is excluded from quality education and opportunity to build their future.
The days when students will be struggling to sponsor themselves in their various educational endeavors is over, both at the tertiary and those who are seeking skills, who are seeking to be skilled, to be empowered, to move on with their lives. So it's a very great day for the country.
We are happy, and you see that even Nigeria's parents will be happy, and we pray that those given the responsibility will effectively carry it out.
With the grey areas sorted, implementation is expected to begin in earnest for the eligible students. From the State House, Musbah and Wahab, NTA News.
Well, as they say, nothing good comes easy. Electricity consumers who enjoy 20 hours of supply and above daily will now pay more as the federal government has approved new tariff for them. Under the new tariff regime announced by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, customers on Band A will now pay 225 naira per kilowatt, up from 68 naira. Joshua Ojito reports.
In view of the recent increase in price of gas to power, among other factors, the electricity distribution companies approached the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission for a review of tariff and approval granted, but only for customers classified under Band A. While Band A customers will now pay 225 naira per kilowatts as against 68 naira, the regulator insists that distribution companies must supply 20 hours of electricity daily to them, failure which the customers will be downgraded to other bands.
We've put all those in place, as I said, to ensure that we protect the customers, and starting especially the few customers that will be affected by these order on the rate application.
Currently, less than 500 feeders nationwide, representing 15% of total electricity customers, are on Band A, as against 875 feeders claimed by the distribution companies. The Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission says it will monitor the implementation of the new tariff to ensure compliance on 20 hours supply.
For other customers, are they neglected? No. They will still continue to get service, but not up to 20 hours. And there are targets that are being provided for the distribution companies, which the Commission will monitor and review from time to time to ensure the migration of other customers to better service.
Customers in other bands are not affected by the new tariff. Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
The Nigerian Customs Service has announced 1.3 trillion naira as revenue generated by the service in the first quarter of 2024. At a news conference in Abuja, Customs Comptroller General Adewale Adeniyi emphasized that the amount is 122% higher than what was generated during the same period, that was in 2023. Let's hear more from Kunle Adeyeye.
With the revenue target of 5.7 trillion naira for the year, the Comptroller General says the service has been uncompromising in achieving this task. He gave the breakdown of 390.824 billion naira as amount generated in January, 450.209 billion naira collected in February, and 506.624 billion naira in March.
In the first quarter, NCS demonstrated remarkable performance in revenue collection. Total revenue collected during this period amounted to 1 trillion naira, 347 billion, 675 million, 608,972.75 kobo.
Besides this, the chief custodian at the points of entry into the country also disclosed that foreign exchange fluctuations created an offset in its activities, which eventually affected the volume of transactions. He envisages this might still manifest in the months ahead.
The repercussions of these fluctuations have sent concerning signals to our stakeholders, and it affected very seriously. In fact, you might say it disrupted our activities.
He appealed to those with improperly imported vehicles to take advantage of the 90-day window approved by the federal government to do proper clearance, stressing that the service will commence vigorous operations at the end of the period to take actions against such vehicles and owners. Kunle Adeyeye, NTA News.
To other issues, the robust rocketry program of the Activity Center of the National Space Research and Development Agency Center for Space Transport and Propulsion in Ekpe, Lagos State, has received commendation. Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Uche Nanji, gave the commendation during his visit to the facility. The Center for Space, Transport and Propulsion is one of the centers of excellence of the National Space Research and Development Agency. Its mandate revolves around research and development in the area of rocketry and other propulsion systems using various types of fueling systems. The minister says the exploits and mandates of the center is critical to the actualization of the renewed hope agenda of the present administration, particularly in the area of security. While he pledged the ministry's support to the center, especially in the area of funding, to establish a launching pad for satellites and rockets to keep pace with international standards.
We will be able to make a major leap in this center. We'll be able to get some funding, because what we want now is changes. We want people to get employed. We want to start doing things. And it is by creating areas and facets of a center like this that people can get employment.
Director General of NASTRA, Dr. Halilu Ahmed Shabba, urged the center to channel its resources towards the commercialization of spin-off products, which he believes will be a veritable source of revenue generation. Dr. Halilu called for support from all stakeholders for the actualization of Nigerian space program.
Technology to market. So why should we be lacking there?
More than 200 houses have been razed down by an inferno at Kwalele village in Abuja local government area of Jigawa State. Mohammed Musa Askira reports that assessment by the state's emergency management agency reveals that the fire destroyed property worth 30 million naira.
Although there was no loss of life to the midday fire outbreak as the villagers were able to evacuate children, the aged and other vulnerable members of the community, property worth about 30 million naira was said to have lost to the inferno. These include animals, houses, grains, furniture and economic tourism among other belongings of the villagers. The state deputy governor, who led an emergency relief team to the village, described the condition of the residents as pathetic, assuring the victims of government's assistance to recover from their losses.
I sympathize with the people on behalf of Jigawa State and the people of Jigawa State. We are really sympathizing for what happened, and may Allah provide what they lost.
A lot of valuable is gone, as you can see guinea corn there.
Preliminary reports of assorted food items, mats, blankets and buckets has already been delivered for distribution to the victims. Though stakeholders say the source of the fire is not yet established, the reason may not be far-fetched, as the misuse of cooking fire in the sunny, dry and windy weather of April by children in a village like Kwalele, where residents largely live in mud and thatch houses. Anything can happen. From Dutse, Muhammad Musa Askira, NTA News.
Director General National Emergency Management Agency NEMA Zubaida Umar says the agency will continue to explore possibilities of more partnerships with intervening agencies for effective mitigation and management of disasters across the country. The NEMA boss stated this when she received the leadership of United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs in Abuja. Ilyasu Yakobo reports.
Disaster management, experts say, requires high-level collaboration for effective mitigation and management. And this meeting between NEMA and UN-OCHA is to further strengthen workable partnership that will see to the effective management of disasters devoid of casualties and destruction of property. DG NEMA appreciated the commitment of UN-OCHA and expressed confidence in the sustenance of strengthening of existing partnership between the two organizations towards achieving their mandate. She also highlighted some of her plans to ensure early preparations and proactive approach in case of flood to mitigate and respond to the disaster this year.
It is on record that the collaboration between NEMA and UN-OCHA has been instrumental in enabling us to enhance our response capabilities and reach out to more people in need.
The UN Archer Nigeria head of office, Mr. Trung Jensen, said the visit was to reaffirm the commitment of UN Archer to partner with NEMA in the areas of disaster management in Nigeria.
And the only way we can find solutions to these issues is by working together, drawing on the strengths, comparative strengths that you have and the comparative strengths that we have.
NEMA is working out modalities to proactively tackle the 2024 flood devastation to minimize destruction of lives and property. In Abuja, Ilyasu Yakubu, NTA News.
Let's take a break at this time. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Thank you for being there. The fight against wildfire crimes in Nigeria has taken a new dimension, with the country taking delivery of a range of wildfire surveillance equipment courtesy the United Nations Organization on Drugs and Crime. Director General of National Environmental Standards, Regulations and Enforcement Agency, NESRA, Professor Aliyu Jaro, received the equipment in Abuja on behalf of the federal government. GSP trackers, walkie-talkie, laptops, desktops, protective equipment, weighing for wildlife, specimen, magnifying lens, internet connectivity, gadgets and smartphones are some of the equipment donated by the German US government and UNODC. Project coordinator of the organization, Folusho Adeleke, presenting the equipment on behalf of the country's representative, Oliver Staub, says Nigeria has shown exemplary commitment in tackling wildlife crimes.
It's not enough to have trainings, and we've done some of that. It's not enough to develop policy documents. What tools do they have to undertake this work? And that's why, together with NESRA, we looked at some of the priority operational needs and came up with a list of some items which we could immediately procure.
We are elated today because they are vital tools that we have been looking forward to acquiring in order to strengthen our capacity to discharge our mandate in the protection of wildlife and also other environmental crimes.
Wildlife traffickers, she says, have evolved in the means of killings and smuggling Nigeria's endangered species and would require real-time equipment to carry out productive monitoring. Nigeria has enjoyed constant support from the US and German government since 2000 to boost the capacity to fight illicit wildlife trafficking. The wildlife surveillance equipment are to be presented to NESRA zonal offices across the Federation. Taiwan has been struck by its most powerful earthquake in 25 years, which measured 7.4 in magnitude. Officials have confirmed at least 9 fatalities and over 900 injured. Let's hear from Comfort Fashion.
Officials said the quake was the strongest to shake the island in decades and warned of more tremors in the days ahead. The magnitude 7.4 quake hit just before 8 a.m. local time. The quake left dozens of buildings damaged and prompted tsunami warnings that extended to Japan and the Philippines before being lifted. The tremors were felt as far as the capital, Taipei. Reports say across the Taiwan Strait, social media users in China's eastern Fujian province and elsewhere felt strong tremors. Residents of Hong Kong also reported feeling the earthquake. Members of the rescue team searched for survivors in a damaged building in Hualien. The city's mayor also said more than 50 survivors had been successfully rescued from the ruins of the structure. Meanwhile, strict building regulations and widespread public disaster awareness appear to have staved off a major disaster for the earthquake-prone island, which lies near the junction of two tectonic plates. Comforts, fashion, NTA News.
NATO foreign ministers meet in Brussels as the military alliance marks its 75th anniversary on April 4. Foreign ministers debated a proposal to create a €100 billion 5-year fund for Ukraine as the alliance chief urged them to guarantee long-term arms supply for Kyiv outgunned forces. Let's hear again from Comfort Fashion.
The meeting in Brussels comes as NATO on Thursday marks 75 years since it was founded in the wake of World War II to face off against the threat of the Soviet Union. Officials said NATO Secretary General has proposed creating a €100 billion fund to help arm Ukraine in its fight with Russia. The plan got support from Ukraine's staunch supporters such as Poland and the Baltic states. However, another caution, there are many questions on where financing would come from, and the plan could change dramatically by a summit in Washington in July.
We must ensure reliable and predictable security assistance to Ukraine for the long haul, so that we rely less on voluntary contributions and more on NATO commitments.
The plan from Stoltenberg will also see a NATO mission take more control of coordinating arms supplies to Kyiv from a US-led grouping that currently helps overseas support.
We wanted to make sure that Ukraine could have access to these security assurances, these guarantees, until becoming a member of NATO.
Officials says that could help insulate the flow of weaponry to Ukraine. But Hungary, one of the friendliest countries to Russia in NATO, said it will not support any proposal that might draw the alliance closer to war. On the sideline of the meeting, NATO foreign ministers were also expected to discuss the race to replace Stoltenberg, whose decade-long tenure ends in October. Comfort, fashion, NTA News.
Senegal's newly elected President Bassirou Diomaye Faye has named his mentor and anti-establishment figurehead Ousmane Sonko as Prime Minister. One more time, let's hear from Comfort Fashion.
It is believed that Sonko's appointment as Prime Minister signals a shift towards cooperation and unity in the government as the two leaders worked together to address the challenges facing the country and bring about positive change. Sonko was at the center of a 2-year standoff with the state, which triggered rounds of deadly unrest. He was disqualified from running in the most recent race and picked Faye as his replacement on the presidential ballot. Campaigning jointly under the slogan, Diomaye is Sonko, Sonko urged supporters to vote for his top lieutenant, Faye, who ultimately won with more than 54% of the votes in the first round.
Autour de notre programme que nous avons élaboré en commun.
The new Prime Minister, Ousmane Sonko, has already expressed his commitment to serving the people of Senegal and working collaboratively with President Faye to build a brighter future for the nation. Sonko said he would present Faye with a full list of proposed ministerial appointments for his approval. Comfort, fashion, NTA News.
President Bola Tinubu has condoled with the family of former President of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Ali Chiroma, over the passing of the elder statesman.
Within the trade union hierarchy. In a statement released, the president sympathizes with the Chiroma family, the organized labor community, and everyone impacted by this painful loss. Recollecting the endeavors of the former labor leader, President Tinubu affirms that Comrade Chiroma stood up for the independence of the NLC and doggedly defended the downtrodden when it mattered the most. The president praised to Almighty Allah to grant repose to the soul of the departed while assuring the family of the elder statesman of his thoughts and prayers in this moment of grief. Similarly, former President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed his condolences on the demise of the veteran Labour leader and former President Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, Ali Chiroma. The former president said the disease leaves behind notable contributions to the economy and the Labour movement well beyond the border of the nation. Former president praised for the bereaved family, the government and the people of Borno State.
And on that note, we end the news. Thank you for your time. I'm Ruth Aguele. My sign language interpreter is Bamidele John. Bye.